So, how many people came out for your birthday celebration yesterday?
It was so exciting. I didn't get an exact count, but it was a wonderful gathering of friends and acquaintances and other activists and the mayor.
Wow, okay. So, in addition to the mayor, who were some other distinguished guests that you really enjoyed seeing?
Well, I think, to me, everybody is a distinguished guest because there were many connections of people I've worked with on different issues and projects, but I guess one of the most notable is our state, what is he, congressman, senator?
Yes.
Darryl Russo.
Yes.
And so he had a lovely memory to share. People were asked to share their memories of me and my activities. And so he shared that when he was a teenager, he was following us around, the group of us who were working on some of the active issues of the day in 1969 and 1970, which were a group of attorneys, including Jim Sanderlin and Ike Williams and Mr. Minnis, Attorney Minnis, and then he kind of got carried away, and he said that I was the, he didn't call me the leader, but he said I was the, they marched to my drums, he said, something like that. And I think that was a little carried away.
He probably was right, though.
But it was a great group that really tried to begin to make change. And of course, one of those early people also was Bet Wimbish, who was the first black woman elected to the St. Pete City Council. And she had befriended Attorney James Sanderlin when he came down to help with the cases that the police, the Black Courageous 12, had brought against the city because they were not allowed to police or do any of their work in the white community. They had to stay in the black community. So two of those Courageous 12 are still alive, and one of them was at my party, Mr. Freddie Crawford, who I have begun again to work with now here. He's back in our neighborhood. And so he was there and he spoke. And let's see, League of Women Vote, there were people from the League of Women Voters, because the League was the first organization that I joined when we came to St. Petersburg.
Okay.
And that was because of my mother-in-law, who had been a lobbyist for the Rhode Island League of Women Voters back in the day. And my husband was a page in the Rhode Island legislature while he was going to Brown University.
Oh, okay.
And so we'd sit around, and I'd go to the sessions of the legislature, and then we'd be at the dinner table and they'd tell the backstories. And that's one of the ways that I got really involved in watching legislators and other elected officials.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had the opportunity to meet Attorney Sanderlin and Miss Wimbash, Betty Wimbash? Bet Wimbash. Could you tell us something about Attorney Sanderlin that you remember?
Oh yes, very much so. Because after he took other cases besides the police, the black police people, he also took the sanitation workers case and won it. He won those, and he also took the, oh boy, no. There were 3 cases that he took, sanitation workers, and it'll come to me in a minute. That's 90-year-old brains don't always pull it up right fast. Anyway, after those cases were over, I was working, when we first arrived here, I continued the work I'd been doing against the Vietnam War. And because there was a chapter of the Vietnam Veterans Against the War here in St. Petersburg, and because people from the Quaker meeting and others were peace people, I was working on that. So when Jim Sanderlin decided to run for judge in 1970, late 71 and 72, they called me up and said, would you please come and join our campaign and bring your shoebox. So I knew what they meant, because I had my 3x5 cards of my contacts of all the churches that were peace activists and spreading the word. And so over there on that stand is a picture of the Sanderlin campaign group.
Okay.
And I joined that, and then I had a specific role to play. Besides furnishing my contacts, I was also designated to go and visit the Republican meetings and groups up in North County. And
how did that go?
Well, you know, it was interesting, and when you look at the picture, you'll see why I was chosen. I was very blonde, and I was very white, and so I could say to these lovely white people that that this wonderful young attorney from Harvard was down here, and he would make a wonderful judge, and I passed out literature that didn't have his picture on it. And so we had the campaign had a very good strategy, and of course they had literature with his picture on it in the south part of the county. Mm-hmm. And everybody had told me when I joined the campaign, oh, Winnie, no, you're never going to elect a black judge in Pinellas County. And we did that first time out.
Wow, okay.
And that really was another thing that started changing. And Bet Wimbish was one of Jim Sanderlin's friends and supporters, and I remember her helping him and having meetings in her home. Mm-hmm. That brings up, I don't know how much detail you want me to go into.
Keep going.
Okay, because one of the meetings that we had in her home was after the gentleman then called Joe Waller, who was charged with tearing down the mural off City Hall wall. And so we were having a fundraiser to help him, and she opened up her home, and we had this meeting right there by the swimming pool and raised funds. And the invitation was done by a professor of art at Eckerd College, Peg Rigg, who is no longer with us. That's as I grow older, I notice on my lists and cards, I have to write deceased on quite a few, and some of them, unfortunately, much younger.
Okay, I'm going to pause this now so we can go into the next segment.